Hey, friends, welcome back to the Called to Lead podcast. So, if you haven't listened to last week's episode, definitely go back and give it a listen because I interviewed the Brett Blake, who is the author of Renewal for Field Leaders. And in this episode, I'm going to be diving a little bit deeper into his C.H.I.S.E.L acronym principle that he talks about in his book in terms of leading my team as Saint back to renewal, which is essentially growth, which I'll link to an episode if you want to learn all about all of the basics of the chisel and what that means. But in this episode specifically, I am going to be sharing the three biggest epiphanies I have had in terms of reading his book and implementing this renewal and chisel system into my business when it comes to innovations in your business. So if you've been looking for something fresh, new, or maybe a fresh perspective on something that's maybe not so new, I am going to bring it in today's episode. So let's dive in, and I can't wait to share. So let's dive in to the I in chisel. So just to recap a little bit, we've got the C in chisel stands for cash and saving cash for your business. I did an entire episode on how to do that. So you can go back to that episode if you want and listen. Then the H stands for hope, which is something that Brett and I talked a lot about on the last episode, and how to instill hope in your business and in your team. And so today it's going to be the I, which stands for innovations. And actually, the very first epiphany that I'm going to share, one of three with you that I had, was actually on the interview call with Brett last week. And I kind of touched on it. I think it was live on the call. If not, it was maybe right after we got done recording. But I realized when it comes to social media, which if you've been following my podcast for a second, you know I have a love-hate relationship with social media. Spoiler alert, if you don't know my story, I did spend an entire year off of social media. It actually was like this, I guess it's been a year since I've been back on social media using the integrate strategy, which is essentially just being a human online, which for me has meant not posting very much, definitely not trying to grow my Instagram or grow my Facebook, but just trying to kind of show up when I feel the inspiration, but also integrating my business and my life into it, but not trying to show up like an influencer or trying to really use or leverage social media to market my product outside of YouTube, which in my mind is not social media. So if you know my story, I went a whole year without social. I have stepped back into it baby steps, but full disclosure, it's definitely still kind of is not my favorite thing. But I will say the ignore strategy, which is not doing it at all, is very challenging as well. So I'm not here to say that you shouldn't be on social media. I'm just saying you should kind of tread lightly and look at it from the perspective of the epiphany that I had when it comes to innovations in social media. So in today's network marketing world, I see so many leaders think that social media, or I don't know if they're leaders, but so many social sellers, if you will, look at their social media as their business. When in reality, social media is a tool or a recent innovation to help serve their business. And that's my first big epiphany, is that people feel like social media is the only way, or if they're not growing on social, then they're not growing their business. When honestly, this business, the business of network marketing, is foundationally all about connections and relationships, which are kind of a challenge to do in mass on social media. They are, however, and here's the beautiful part about social media, they are made a little bit easier in terms of being able to reach anyone in the world, in the entire world. So like Saints getting ready to launch into multiple countries here in the next year, into the UK, Australia, and soon after Mexico. And honestly, social media is the way that I would recommend anybody to connect with people in those countries. So absolutely, it can be a powerful way to build relationships and connections, but only if you use it as an innovative tool within your business, not as the business or the purpose of your business, like I see so many people doing. And Brett talked about kind of affiliate marketing and how that's kind of now transitioned into the network marketing industry and now is known as social selling. And it's a tough business model. Is it one where people can make a lot of money, meaning like sharing your link online, building a massive following based on either your own personal brand or giving really great creative value around your product? Can it be done? Absolutely. Is it really hard? Yes. In fact, is it harder than the one thing that will propel your business forward, which is having conversations with people? Yes, it is definitely harder than that. Now, having conversations, meaning going deeper with someone, inviting them, to learn more about your product, or as my mentor Bob Heilig says, really finding out what their problems are when it comes to whatever your product can solve. So for us with being in Saint, or for anybody on my team that's listening, or anybody that's listening in Saint, our product is meant to save time, to save money, and to help women feel beautiful. So having the conversation is the first step with that individual person, which again is really hard to do in mass using social media. So for me, the number one innovation and the number one tool that you can use to leverage and grow your business and bring renewal to your business is social media. But you have to be using it in a way that you realize that the content that you create on social media has to be converting for you in order to be effective. And if it's not converting for you, meaning if you're posting every day and you're not getting a lot of traction on it, and you're thinking that's the business model or that's the job, is just to show up and post online every day and that's what's going to get you the sales, that's not what network marketing is. That might be social media marketing, but again, the social media should be an innovative tool in your tool belt for your network marketing business. Your business should be about having conversations. So I actually did a training this week with my team that I talked about the fact that connections is the core of your business. And with those connections, they're essentially your leads. And so if you are on social media, the good news is that's anybody that's already following you, or your friends on Facebook, or the people who are watching your stories. It's essentially your connections on social media. But you've got to take that next step, which is having conversations with them in order to propel the business forward, which every time you do that, it's going to build confidence in yourself. And you're going to feel like, okay, this isn't so scary. I can do this. And you're going to do it more and more. And you're going to get better and better. And guess what happens when your confidence builds from overcoming your fears of having the conversations? Then you start to make better content, which converts, because again, you want your content to convert, which creates a deeper connection, and then the cycle starts over and over and over again. And so I will drop, if you're watching this on YouTube, I will kind of do an overlay of a little graphic, but just if you picture like a water wheel or a cycle in your business of connections being the foundation, the center, and then you're going to go around the little wheel to start conversations with those connections. And again, social media can be a great way to build connections, and the conversations can happen also on social media via slide into the DMs, right? And then that's going to build your confidence, which is going to create better content for you on social media or wherever, because again, it doesn't have to be social media. It can be in person or wherever you choose to do it. Or for me, it's on YouTube, right? Which again, I don't see YouTube so much as social media because it doesn't really have like the social aspect or comparative aspect. I don't know. Anyways, so for me, YouTube is a little bit different outside of social. But me having more confidence in myself and in the conversations I'm having about my product and my business can build me to be able to have better content out there, which is going to convert better, because it's not just about how much content you're putting out. Is it bringing you results in your business? And if it's not, you need to go back around to the circle. And then from those conversions that you get, that's going to stem more connections through referrals, through, the opportunity to again, kind of go around the circle again. So social media, my friends, should be an innovation for your business. It's not the business. So if that feels like freedom to you, if you're like me, where social media just feels like a time suck and, kind of causes a little more harm than good, know that you don't necessarily have to completely ignore it, but you can focus on having conversations in other ways. And again, I have episodes for days in the year that I was off social. So catch back up on some previous episodes if you want info on how to do that. But like today, for example, Instagram and Facebook and Messenger all went down. I don't think it was for more than an hour, but I mean, raise your hand if you thought you had been hacked or shut off of Facebook. And I literally, instead of panicking, I almost had this piece of like, maybe this is it. Maybe I don't have to be on Facebook anymore. Maybe Facebook is gone. Oh, because really, I really have that much of a love-hate with social media. But but no, nonetheless, it came back up. But it's such a reminder that, social media cannot be your only part of this business. You've got to build relationships. You've got to build connections and conversations that are going to build your confidence to create better content and convert in your business. So that's my number one epiphany when it comes to innovations is you need to look at social media as an innovator and realize that TikTok and all of those things, they're just innovative ways of sharing social media. So, and there's going to be another one probably coming tomorrow. I don't know what happened with Threads. I don't know if that's still a thing, but there's always going to be something coming around the bend, and that is considered innovation that you can leverage for your business. So the second epiphany that I had in reading this book, and specifically in the chapter on innovations, is talking about new products. Because when you say the word innovation, you tend to think about new products that you can offer and sell to your customers within network marketing, right? Or social selling. And what Brett talks about in the book is, because another innovation that we'll get to in a second, and that's systems, are often tied to what you sell. It can actually be a hindrance if you introduce a new product, without the systems in place to support that new product. And for us, and I feel like I can kind of tell it like it is on this podcast, so I'm going to share just my honest feelings. I hope that's okay. But we have what we call a hero product, and every network marketing company has one, and they can and do sometimes change. But ours is called 3D Foundation, and it's essentially a custom palette that's built around a highlight and contour foundation that replaces your foundation, so you consolidate everything into one custom palette. So 3D Foundation is what our business was founded on. It's still our bestseller to date. It's an amazing hero product. So about, I guess, 3 years ago, somewhere along there, I don't even know when it was, 3 or 4 years ago, our amazing founder, and she's such a great creative, she came out with a new product called Demi Color that actually is pretty cool. It's a great supplemental product. There's some really cool stuff, and I've even done a YouTube video. I'm trying to see if these are the Demi palettes for those of you guys watching and want a visual element. But Demi is complicated. I don't recommend it, certainly to a new customer, because number one, I don't think it's something she has to have. Number two, it's kind of complicated. It's based in color theory, where you have to find the excess color on your face. You have to put the tiniest little amount only on the spot, and then you have to kind of embrace the idea that the result is going to be like a no makeup look. And when our company launched it, we were excited because it was something new and innovative, but we had no systems in place to support it. In fact, we had to be certified to sell it in the business to do it. And so I'm not going to lie, and I think anybody who was in our company or has been in our company during that season, it was a challenge, because it was discouraging when leaders like me actually got denied from selling it because we didn't know how to do it. And I'm like, okay, if I don't know how to do it, and I've been with this company for years, how am I going to show my customers how to do it, right? So sometimes people crave innovation and new products in their business. But what Brett talks about is, if you don't have the systems in place to support those products, you should not, number one, wish for it. Number two, get distracted by the shiny objects until you have that kind of proof of concept, and until you've got the systems in place, either from corporate or from your team, in order to do so. And so that was a huge epiphany for me, in that we can create innovation in our own businesses as network marketing leaders without having to have new products from our supplier, which is Saint for me, or whatever your company is. So that was my number 2 epiphany. And then my number 3 epiphany is when it comes to systems. And I've talked about this a little bit on the podcast. Well, actually, I talk about it a lot because I'm obsessed with systems. So I won't dive in too deeply. But I realized that our systems were not simple enough. So Brett outlines all the systems that you need for your business in the book. And of course, I'll link to the book in the show notes if you haven't read it yet. But it was a huge epiphany for us as leaders to really drill down the basics for our brand new distributors, for upgrading our distributors. And I'm really excited that I am also kind of right now in the process of potentially rolling out a system for leadership development, which is one of them. And so you have to really make sure that, number one, you're leveraging systems. If you've got great systems from your corporate team or from your upline or from a bigger team, use and leverage them before you go and create them. That's first and foremost. But if you have something that's missing in there, or if you need to refine or you need to innovate in the terms of your systems, it's worth the time and energy of doing that. And that was a huge breakthrough epiphany of mine in terms of simplifying and innovating when it comes to our systems. So those are my 3 kind of biggest take homes. Some other things that I know I talk a lot about on here are tech tools and things like that. And I might even do an entire episode on my favorite tech tools. I think that's on my list. So maybe you can let me know in the Call to Lead community chat, which you can get a link to by texting the word podcast to 912-405-8912. And you can let me know if that sounds like something fun. But tech tools are obviously a completely other innovation. And I really want to share like my top 5 ones that I cannot live without and ones that I use pretty much on the daily. And I can tell you whether they're worth the investment. And again, that's going back to the C, right? And maybe, some of the free versions that you might want to integrate. So that will probably be next week's episode if it sounds like something you guys want to dive into, and we'll kind of continue the conversation on innovations when it comes to technology. But I hope that this has been helpful for you today. Definitely check out Brett's book and again the podcast that we've been chatting about, and stay tuned for more renewal goodness headed your way. Thanks for listening. Y'all have a great week. Bye.